Hello. So I wanted to come out here and make a video today about having discernments with individuals in your life that you like, that you are either I don't want to say you look up to, but you value their opinion or like their advice means something to you. In the past, they were extremely helpful or whatever, right? Um, After my breakup, going through my sobriety journey, I'm Cali sober, so I want to put that out there. I don't know why. Who cares? I'm like, I gotta tell the truth. Anyways, um, and going through that journey is like, okay, I'm gonna take it seriously. And then I was like, all right, I want to figure out how to be a better person. I wanted to be the person. I didn't realize at the time what I was doing was I wanted to be the person that I always thought I was going to be when I grew up, which is a person that stands up for herself and stands up for others and takes care of herself and takes care of her family, right? That's what I thought I was going to be. And I didn't realize that I was like where I was living basically and who I was interacting with basically made me into a hypersensitive, riddled anxiety alcoholic, right? It's funny because my daughter and I went to watch the new Spider-Man movie. I could not tell you what it was about. I was very confused. It's a young Jean Grey meeting Spider-Man. I'm like my like I watched Spider-Man when I was younger, but I watched it on like the WB. So it was Spider-Man and then he went to Spider-Man Unlimited and he did meet up with the mutants, but I don't remember Jean Grey. And I'm also not a fan of Jean Grey. And I think one of the reasons I'm not a fan of Jean Grey is that I've never read X-Men comics. But I've watched the X-Men 97 series. And then I watched, like, whatever, when they were teenagers. And I disliked Jean Grey's character. And then I was so pissed when she got powers of the Phoenix Force. Because I'm like, of course. Of course. And I really hated her as a teenage girl. And now I'm thinking, maybe she was just written by misogynists because she irritated me so much. And I think a lot of it was like I hated the love story. I was like, can the girl work on her powers? To be honest, I actually liked it when she went with like whoever those people that turned her, who got her the power of the mutant force. Like I think it was like the Evil Hood Brotherhood or whatever. They dressed like colonial time, like George Washington in them. Okay, I liked her. I was like, I like this Jean Grey. When she told Scott Summers to F off, I was like, yes, girl. So I think that's why I did not like Jean Grey, because I'm like, why is she chasing after these boys? Who gives a fuck what Wolverine and what Scott Summers wants? Can you figure out your powers? Can you figure out your powers, right? Professor X, that man, okay? What I realized about this movie is the way that people fight with psychics is very different from how they fight everybody else, right? Everything is here, right? So, learning to discern when people that you like have you fucked up is going to help you immensely. Because honestly, had Spider-Man asked a couple of more questions, he could have figured out what was going on with Jean. Had he not been in his head grieving people that are still alive from decisions that he made himself, he could have figured out what was going on. It didn't need to take him that long, right? I knew that man was lying. Why would you think that a man in a suit wouldn't lie to you? But I am a daughter of Batman, right? Batman, the animated series, is my favorite. I've talked for 5 minutes and I've not talked about. But this is what I'm talking about. I learned discernment from watching some of those shows when I was younger, right? Is watching these heroes, or whatever they are, be continuously disappointed by the people that they love the most in their lives, and be disappointed because they didn't ask the correct question or because they were in their heads. And that is what's going to happen with you if you are a psychic, if you're not a psychic, or whatever. You know what I mean? But a lot of it is going to be trying to figure out who has you fucked up and who doesn't, right? And a lot of what's going to happen when people think you're smart, or people believe that they're smarter than you, is that they are going to one up you, right? They're going to one up you. Spider-Man not paying attention to how things are going on and being more worried about the bigger picture, which is really funny because I'm an ADHDer, so I prefer the bigger picture. Then it'll help me realize the smaller stuff. But as I am thinking about the bigger picture, I realize I need to focus on the smaller stuff, right? So that's how I make discernments. So for example, when I wanted to figure out what was going on with misogyny and patriarchy, all right? Because people are accusing me of being a feminist. I am. And I don't understand why they would be upset with me for being a feminist. And then I honestly, for the longest time, I did not understand what men gained from being with women. Because of what they tell you, they don't gain anything. They don't gain anything, they don't gain anything, they don't gain anything. And I was like, well, I don't understand why y'all are with them. Then I learned about labor. I learned about uncredited labor. I learned about how, from a young age, I understood, but I was like, well, you're capable of doing all this stuff by yourself. So I understood, but it was never broken down to me in a way that now when I'm speaking to a man, I can understand the difference between a man who likes women for who they are and a man who likes women for what a woman can do for him, right? A man asking you, a man asking you, what do you bring to the table, sounds legitimate if we didn't live in patriarchy, right? A man telling you that your education doesn't matter before sounds great, wonderful. I don't have higher education, so I'm like, well, maybe he doesn't really care about that. But really, they are saying, I prefer for you to either be underneath me, so I'm the one who's smarter than you. I also prefer the fact that you don't have the freedom to go out there and be able to take care of yourself financially because of your education. So you're not going to get a job that's going to be high paying, right? And then socially, you cannot get in a lot of places because of your education. Because sometimes, even if education can get you into places where it doesn't cost much, but socially it looks good, right? So that's domineering. So now, once you talk to the man, you can figure out what it is that he actually does like. One of the things that I did was I watched a lot of YouTubers. Okay, I didn't have the time to read. I could not keep my mind quiet. And I even have to tell you, even with the YouTubers, I was doing a lot of things in the background. One of the ones that I watched was crazy because this is when I knew men were out of the man was a nurse, and he said that he won't date a woman that has her own house because it emasculates him. But it took him so long to get to that point. Right? He talked about how it makes her bossy, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it's weird because why would it make a woman that, but not a man? And they won't say it. They won't say it. But I watched that show and I felt a kinship and whatever. And there were times where they were talking about things on that show where I was like, listen, I like messy. I enjoy messy stuff, but I want us to stop at mess when it starts to veer into human rights violations, right? When we start to say that trans people don't deserve rights, or that we don't understand this sexuality spectrum. So if a man looks feminine, but he's not trans, I'm confused about what he is and he needs to pick one. Shut up. That's not for you to decide. Right? You know what you are, and that's all you should be. Somebody else, the thing didn't make any sense. And the reason it didn't make any sense is it was coming from a gay man. But this is a gay man who decided to go back to the church, but not like a church that would accept him as a gay. It was a church that didn't accept him as a gay. And on top of that, he's pandering to like black women. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Right? All of a sudden now we're xenophobic. All of a sudden now we're transphobic. And I'm just like, what is happening? What is going on? Right? Oh, another thing that happened was Nara Smith and like some that African woman who said that Nara Smith stole from her. We watched that. We watched Nara Smith and we watched the woman, and we ended up making fun of the fat black woman. Not me, but the host and the people on the chat. It was like a couple of us were like, this is weird. Who gives a fuck what Nara, like, it does, like, just because Nara Smith has the bigger audience, does that mean that she gets to steal from little ones? And on top of that, she stole from a dark-skinned black woman. I thought we were sitting here trying to say that colorism was bad. This is the kind of stuff that was happening, right? Another one was when the statue of those black women was happening in New York. People were freaking out in that chat, and he decided that he was going to agree with the women who said that we don't need to see those videos. First of all, I'm a size goddamn 12. That girl was a size 10. I thought it was a girl. I didn't even think it was a woman. The way that people were talking about it was insane. And I was like, what is going on? They said the man was colorist because he was married to a white person, and he wanted to come out and embarrass black women. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I was like, oh, so the bravado that black women have about how they stand up in their own power it could be fake. Right? This is literally what they said in the chat. And then somebody like repeated it. They were like, oh, we want to be treated like how white men treat their women. They call them beautiful regardless if they are or not. These women literally said they want to be lied to instead of being viewed exactly as who they are. Again, this was one or two statues. There were other statues of the woman looking different. People were calling this woman fat. They were calling her angry. And this was coming from black women. And I did not understand. That pissed me off. Okay, then another thing that came was the Somali, I'm from Minnesota, the Somali fraud case, and the way that he talked about that, and he's Caribbean, and he's agreeing with like xenophobic people. I was like, what is happening? So I had to stop watching him, right? Honestly, it felt wrong. It felt wrong because I was like, this is a black man, and I'm like taking views away. He'll be fine. There's if you're talking about bigotry and you're talking about taking rights away from people, apparently there's always somebody there to lend you an ear. Okay? So I felt like, oh, well, I'm not going to be supporting black people or black women if I leave this space. And I was also like doing like a Patreon thing, and it took me like, I think 6 months. And I really thought I was going to go back. But I didn't. I blocked them completely. That's the best thing that I can do for myself. I need the thing out of my face, which is why I tend to block people, which is what I would say, you can do what works for you. For me, blocking works because I need the evidence of whoever they are removed, okay? I did the same with Hassan. I used to listen to Hassan until I figured out that his anti-blackness is not something that he is learning on. It's something that he regresses back a lot. And also the same for his misogyny. But otherwise, she's good for other stuff. And those people are good for other stuff too. They're just not growing in the same trajectory that I am growing. And it's okay to remove yourself from that. So that is some of the ways I have learned to discern from people that I actually like and I respect, and to figure out that even though we agree on a lot of things, there are fundamentally things that there are things about my character that I cannot put to the side to be your friend or to support you or to view you as someone who is good for me or good for me intellectually, psychically, right? I don't need to hear transphobic things. I don't need to hear xenophobic things. I'm here for love. I can't. I just, especially when it doesn't make sense. Like, there are so many ways. Like, I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna be friends with everybody. All right, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, I'm not gonna befriend someone just because they're trans. I want them to have human rights, regardless if they are a good person or not. Now, if they're not a good person, whatever it is, if they break the laws or whatever, there are laws to put them. There are laws to like put them away. I don't understand what people are talking about. But the problem that I have is sometimes those laws don't get used for certain types of people, and that's what I have a problem with. Like when they're not used for men, when they're not used for family members, when they're not used for government officials, when they're not used for whatever reason they're not used for. That is what upsets me. But for me to trample over another human person's rights, no. I have no interest in that. Also, I don't think I'm supposed to like each and every single human being. I don't understand this thing where it's like, why would you, as a marginalized person, when you're going to express your marginalization to other people, why do you need to be perfect? That's one of the best things about studying leftism, right? And thinking black. Why? I don't need to be perfect in order for you to agree that I deserve human rights. So all of a sudden now we gotta be perfect, or we gotta be you perfect, or we all gotta be like, oh, a statue's gotta have like a bust down in order for you to think that she's a beautiful black woman. Being on your phone makes you an angry black. Like, these are weird things, and it's like it's made me realize that America conditions and I believe it. America conditions everybody to be anti-black, especially black folks, especially quote unquote respectable black folks, middle class to high class black folks, the uppity people. My goodness, as an African, I see it too. These people will act like all of a sudden saying people don't want to work. Who don't want to work? Right? And especially if you go to school and then you realize that there is paid labor and then there's unpaid labor. Why the fuck are you saying that people are not working out here? This is insane, right? And the other thing is sometimes what happens too is like they get a little bit of money. All of a sudden they want to look down on people and be like, you just don't understand. You just don't understand the economy, bitch. I don't care to understand the economy. There's other things that are happening. You understand the economy, right? Can you hold it down and not, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Try to extract as much money from people as possible who come to you for help in your industry? Can you do that? Because the problem is, it seems like everybody's like, you want a little bit of money and then you want to keep it, and then you want to look down on people who don't have it, and then you want to shut down the door for people to not get it. It doesn't make any sense. I don't even know where this video is going. I need to stop it. Oh, good God. Spirit told me that I don't